Okay, so here's the deal.
Could you really transform your life in 182 days?
Everywhere you look, there's these videos that are like, change your life in X amount of months, or I can do this transformation in X amount of days. What does that really look like? In the messiness of everyday life, what is the actual possibility of changing your life 182 days?
But I digress. Let me tell you a couple things about me. As someone who actually had a life transformation within 6 months last year, filled with milestones, celebrations, and everything in between, I didn't have a plan, and I felt very overwhelmed and maybe a little scared. It was like life was running ahead of me in a race with me rarely catching up, if that makes sense. But now entering this year with a plan, I wonder what would happen if I did it again.
I kept watching all of these videos and I couldn't even sleep thinking of how I could really transform my life in this amount of time. So I decided, why not try it for myself? 6 months, 26 weeks, 182 days. I am going to try and transform my life. That's so crazy to say. That's so crazy. With actual real effort. And I want us to do it together. It makes me so excited because I'm just like, oh my gosh, maybe we could change our life a little bit. Maybe we can honestly jumpstart our dreams and our goals and our passion, because not only does it take the purpose and intentionality, but it also takes the dedication and consistency. Yes, consistency. For me, it's always been such a hard time to like be consistent, but now I'm like, I'm getting locked in. And no, I'm not talking about just surface level change. I'm talking about like the change within. I'm talking about the spiritual change, the change that start inwards and then outwards. I'm trying to be a Proverbs 31 woman this year. Okay, in 2025, that is my goal. But in order to do that, I need to be able to transform my life in all 5 areas: financially, personally, health-wise, career-wise, and then spiritual. And since I'm taking you along for the ride, let this be my first diary entry of the year. So before we even start this, I want to make sure we do our research. Probably for the past couple of weeks, I watched over 50 YouTube videos of change your life in 60 days, change your life in 3 months, change your life in a year. Okay, I went through it all. And I wanted to see what was working and what wasn't working. I noticed a couple of patterns that were in common and some that were different. The most successful transformations I saw was first, they lasted around 6 months to a year, just so they were able to really highlight each step of the process and also have that time to really say that they transform. I don't think there's nothing wrong with doing it in 3 months or even like a week, but if you're really trying to do inner work with your transformation, I think 6 months is just the good amount of time that you need. It's long enough to create real change, but short enough to stay motivated. You want to be able to do a duration that allows you to not only be consistent, but also motivated in the process. I know that a lot of these people in these journeys also experience burnout, which you will experience as well. But as long as you're just excited for the process, you're like, okay, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, like it'll go down so quickly. Strangely enough, the people that had the biggest changes weren't just focusing on one area. What they were doing is they were focusing on all 5 areas all at the same time. They weren't just focusing on one, they were able to spread themselves a little bit more and to make sure that each aspect of their life, each area of their life was also being transformed, because I feel like you can't really say you transform as a person if all aspects of your areas isn't changed at some point. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna change my body, and then your mental state isn't where your physical body is. It takes all of the areas to really get a gist of what your transformation would look like. They looked at their whole life. They looked at their spirituality, their finances, their health, their relationships, and of course their purpose. So essentially everything. They weren't perfect. Okay, timing of their journeys weren't perfect. Every moment that you live on this earth is perfect, and I think that's the beauty of this transformation series. It wasn't necessarily the most cookie cutter journey because of course life happens, right? But it was just them being able to show up, being like, hey, I'm gonna continue doing this even when I don't feel like it, even when I feel, miserable, even when I feel sick. They were able to show up for themselves and at least do something purposeful or productive every single day. Whether it would be something super small or really big, they just did something every day in each of those areas in order to move forward in their journey. And lastly, they showed the hard days. They showed the doubtful moments where they felt like they couldn't do it anymore. The moments where everything felt impossible, they were able to push through, and that's what I really enjoyed after watching all of these people complete their 182-day journey. It's just how dedicated and consistent they were, and that is the key to success here. So here's how we're going to approach the 182 days together. I created this small system that focuses on 5 areas: faith, finances, health, relationship, and purpose. Each week we'll dive into one area while maintaining small habits in others. What I think makes this so different is that we're going to be doing this together, and we're also going to be doing this with intention. I think intentionality is so important, especially in this new year as we dive into a lot of uncertainties. It's so crazy. I was reading the book of Genesis the past week because as I'm leading into this new year, I will be fasting, but I was reading the book of Genesis, and a lot of the overarching themes of Genesis is just how to understand and how to obey God. I think that a lot of times we'll get into situations where God calls us to do something, or He has that purpose planted in our brain, but we for some reason doubt ourselves and we think that we're not able to achieve it, or it's just silly. I think a lot about the story of Lot and of course his wife, how even though she believed for a little bit, for like that quick second of the instruction that the angels gave to Lot, she still turned back. For me, it was just like, oh, you don't believe what God told you in the first place. And I think that's what a lot of people, and especially in our age, go through. It's like we look back on the past when God has simply given us an instruction from the get-go. It's really important to be purposeful and knowing that God has a plan, and you can't look back. You cannot look back to what it was, and you have to look at what is going to be. This is what we're gonna do. I'm going to be documenting everything. The good parts, the bad parts, the in-betweens. So opening up here, I wanna talk briefly about my 3 areas. A lot of this will be more in the financial, health, and personal areas of my life. So starting off, my financial goals. This is gonna be extremely bold of me. It's like, who is she to have the audacity? I want to make at least $200,000 before my 182 days end. I know that that's a big goal. I know that's like a huge how you gonna make that much? But I'm gonna break it down real quick. So one of the things that I'm going to do to hopefully obtain this goal is, 1, be very, very cautious of what I'm spending. I'm going to be completely honest. I was one of those people that thought that I needed every single product for every single season, but not this year. Not this year. We're gonna stop overconsumption. I swear you don't need any of the new trendy items, the new trendy clothes. Like, I promise you, whatever's in your closet will do. And keep in mind, this is not just about like physical transformation, it's also within. Like, I am trying to grow my relationship with God, and doing that, so I don't need to hyper focus or hyper fixate myself on the little things that won't even matter in like a month or 2 or 3. You know what I mean? You just have to really prioritize what you're really going after. And when you prioritize on the bigger picture rather than just the smaller gimmicks that you don't need, your transformation will be a lot more fulfilling and a lot more quicker. You're not focusing on all the distractions that the world brings you. So I'm going to be working on my UGC business. I want to be able to automate and scale the business I already have. I'm roughly made between $2K to $5K last September. starting UGC consistently and seriously. And when you put yourself in that situation when you start, taking yourself seriously, it's gonna be so much better in the long run. Number 2, I'm gonna be working on digital products. I'm gonna be doing digital marketing and digital products of some sort. I already have a lot of templates of like Notion and like sheets and stuff. So I think being able to actually, utilize them in such a way that is purposeful and like, of course, is in God's plan. I am really excited to not only have a little digital marketing hustle on the side, but really be able to lean in on stocks and really lean in on investments so that I'm also building wealth over time. The goal here is not to just get quick money. We're trying to build wealth for our future generations to come. Think about in Genesis, Abraham, and how he was able to not only be obedient to God, but with his obedience came his blessings. And he became wealthy over time and was able to provide for, his descendants of generations to come. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to focus on having that obedience be placed and having God be the center of every area that I'm trying to achieve here. So that's the ultimate goal. For health, I'm not aiming to have super dramatic before and after pictures. I think the main goal here is to honestly feel good in my body. I want to feel toned. I want to have some muscle. I want to have it all. So that is going to be breaking down basically these 2 things in my routine, focusing on my leg muscles because I feel like I just want to grow them a little bit more, and of course focusing on my arms and my core through Pilates. So I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be going to the gym, working on weights, and then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays I'm going to also partake in Pilates and really do core straightening workouts and arm straightening workouts. Okay, I want to be a Pilates princess. I think Pilates is a great way when you're at that stage of your health journey or your workout journey that you're like, okay, I'm content with my body, but now I just want to make sure that like the little muscles in my body are also strengthened as well. So that's also going to be really cool. And most important thing, I want to be on a journey with God. I want a relationship with Jesus. One of the big things that I'm going to do is find a church home, because I've been needing to find a church home since I came back to San Antonio. And then 2, also form godly relationships that is not only fulfilling in my life, but also fulfilling in other people's lives as well, as I share this journey of finding, actual sustainable relationships, friendships. You just have to trust in God that He's preparing you. He's preparing you for that season and what you were called to do. If you're feeling called to join this journey, subscribe and let me know in the comments of what your gigantic goals are and the little things that you're going to do every single day to show up for yourself in those areas in your life. I want to pray for you and I'm cheering you on. I'm so proud of you. We're going to do it. Okay, gotta go. Bye.